5, 4, ready? Hello, everybody. Welcome to our very first podcast, Rebel Stories, with the phenomenal Dr. Charlene Sensorine Lord. Doc, go ahead. It's all yours.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me on your first podcast. It's an honor. It's a pleasure. I've been keeping track of Rebel and what you've been doing. And Seidel, I'm so proud of you and the work that you've done and the creativity that you sparked into everything that you do. So I find it a pleasure and an honor to be here tonight.
Thank you. So, tell our listeners a little bit about your early life and formative experiences that you feel shaped who you are today. And tell us a little bit about you while you're doing that.
Interesting. Okay. So that's a lot. It's a big topic, but I'm going to summarize it as best as I can because I think that a lot of times when people see who I am or what I've accomplished, my title, what I do every single day is that I'm a board certified dermatologist. I am a hair specialist. That is my passion. It's what I do every day. And that's why the Derm Hair Doc product line came into effect. But that's just what I do. It doesn't totally define who I am. And I think to know who I am or to tap into what has brought me this far is to actually know all the challenges and obstacles that I've had to stumble across, break barriers to get here. Let's start by saying, number one, being a dermatologist is not easy. Being a physician is not easy. Being a dermatologist of color is an even bigger challenge. Okay. Mm-hmm. When I was applying for dermatology residency, it was like 300 applications to one spot that was available.
Wow.
And at that time, can you imagine? And at that time, Black dermatologists only made up 1% of dermatologists totally in the country. Now, to appreciate that number, we need to understand that dermatologists alone only make up 1% of doctors in the United States.
1%?
1%. Dermatologists only make up like 1% of doctors in the United States, and then Black dermatologists made up 1% of that 1%. Now, in 2025, 20 years after graduating from medical school, we're at a whopping 3%. Yay.
Progress.
It's progress. It's progress. It's slow to come, but it's progress. And what's gotten me here is, Seidel, I feel that all my life, people have always told me what I won't be able to do. They've told me what I won't be able to do, what I can't do. And I'm just so grateful. And I thank God that I was never that personality or that child that took that and let it crush me. Because had it been said to the wrong child, I may not have been here.
So what are some of the things that propelled you forward? Who are some of the people that supported you on that journey?
Well, I know my mom. She was a strong lady, God rest her soul. She emigrated to the United States from Haiti with $200 in her pocket. She didn't speak English. She didn't do anything. She faced racism the moment she got on a New York City subway. She didn't only face it because of her color, but she faced it because she was an immigrant. And but she was a teacher when she was in Haiti and she came over, and she came here and started from scratch. And she always taught me that I could be whatever I wanted to be. I could be whomever I wanted to be. And her fight taught me to fight. I always said that if my mom can do this, coming from a different country, speaking a different language, and working so hard and not having the resources that I had, becoming a citizen, but me being born a citizen, I already had a lot handed to me that she didn't have.
Right.
If she could do it, then I had no choice but to do it. And I think that's what kept me going. And I think for everyone, even if you don't come from an immigrant family, if you come from an immigrant family and you're struggling every day, and you have obstacles, and you have people telling you what you can or can't do, or raising the bar so low for you because they think that that's all that you can become, and you're listening, I want you to know that that is not true. And if you're not from an immigrant family, you say, well, you know what, I'm good old born in the US of A, and I can't relate to what you're saying. I'm saying yes, you can, because everybody faces obstacles where you migrated here, or you were born, you were, homegrown or homeborn. I hope that that resonates with you as well. So with my mother always being a fighter and fighting with me and fighting obstacles, I knew that I could do just anything. And it wasn't until there was a time later on, I think I heard Mary J. Blige speaking once about her challenges and how she felt the way she felt about herself. And she said it was because family could sometimes be the worst. Yeah. And I don't know that they plan on being the worst, or they try to be the worst. And it might be because of how they were raised or what they were told. But one thing is, imagine being a 6-year-old girl and an aunt has come and she's visiting, and she's in your parents' home, and she's visiting for a little bit, and she tells you that you will be nothing just like your brother.
I think that's what a lot of people face, and that's what connects a lot of people, because like you said, you don't have to be an immigrant. You can be somebody everybody has faced adversity, and yeah. I'm a strong believer in adversity. How we overcome or how we get through it is different for everybody. Some people will sit with it for a while and then will do something about themselves or about it, and other people will just sit with it.
Exactly. And for the person that will sit with it, or the person who it hurts to the core, it hurts all of us to the core. But I want you to rise above it. And that's why I said, had that been said to the wrong person, I may not be where I am today, or to a different person, I should say, not to the wrong person, but to a different person, because we all take things differently. And for some of us, adversity is our motivator. And for some of us, adversity at the wrong time or at a low moment may just destroy us. And so I want to say to those people, rise above it and know that those people don't identify you. The person who said it may be feeling that way about themselves. Remember, they're a mirror. It's a mirror that they're looking at, and they're shouting back, and unfortunately, you're receiving that. So when I heard that for the first time, it was funny. There was something in my head that was like, what is she talking about? She sounds crazy. Or she must be having a bad day, because I know that's not me. And my brother is absolutely awesome. So I don't even know what you're talking about. And that's what, even as a little kid, I knew that wasn't true. And then you go to college, and I remember going to a medical school fair, and I remember it being at the Washington Hilton when that existed. It doesn't exist anymore. And I had a little difficulty the first time I took the MCAT, the medical school admissions test, and I still went to this medical school fair talking to people, what do I need to do, etc. And someone told me, she said, oh, you'll never get into medical school with those grades, honey. And maybe you need to look at pharmacy school. And I said, well, that's awesome. I have a lot of cousins who are pharmacists and friends, and that's great, but that's not what I see for myself. I want to be an MD. I know what I want to be. And she said, not with those grades or that score. Mind you, it's the first time that I took it. And what was even more discouraging is that this person looked like me. And I was like, how do you discourage somebody like this? And everyone else, every other table I had gone to said, hey, take it again. Everybody has to take it a second time. Take it again. Get a higher score. If you get this, you'll get in. Now, I'm all motivated and happy walking it out of this conference center. And on my way out, this woman shouts across the conference center, says, hey, Charlene, don't forget about that pharmacy school.
No, she did not.
Yes, she did. And I was livid. I was hurt. I was insulted. That's how I felt. I felt insulted. I felt crushed. I was like, wait a minute. I just had some high moments. I have my game plan. And now you shout this across so everybody, with my name, so everyone would know.
How do you overcome something like this?
You go home, you cry a little bit.
Yeah.
You go home, you cry a little bit. Tears are cathartic. You got to let it out. Because if you don't let the anger and the hurt and the pain and the emotion out, it will sneak up on you when you least expect it. And you will snap at someone who doesn't deserve it. And you will make a mistake on a test and everything. And those weren't luxuries that I had. And I don't believe in transferring any negative emotions to someone else. And so I went home and I cried and I cuddled up in my bed and I played a whole bunch of R&B and blues or whatever. And the next day I got up and I studied for the MCAT. And that's what I was able to do. And I got help and I asked for help, which was something that was really hard to do even then. Asking for help. It's like, hey, who else is studying for the MCAT? Where are you studying? Well, maybe we can meet here and there. And that was the new game plan because I had to do it for myself. But I also needed that lady to eat some humble pie.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how that happened. And when I did it again, I got into med school. And it was funny, I didn't even want to look at my scores. I left them on the table for a whole week. I was afraid to open the envelope. And a little birdie said, you need to open that envelope. And I opened it, and she said, what do you see? And I told her, and she says, you're getting in this time. And I did.
Well, congratulations. I'm thrilled that you did.
Thank you. I'm thrilled that I didn't give up. And now getting into medical school was just the beginning because there, I remember someone told me, she said, if you don't know his name, you will by the time you graduate from medical school. And she was talking about spirituality and talking about God.
Yes.
She was like, you will have every challenge that you could possibly face
mm-hmm.
while you're in medical school. And let me tell you, she was quite clairvoyant because it was challenging the moment I got in. How I used to study is not how you needed to study in medical school. I was used to getting great grades, and not getting it the first time was crushing. And again, I had a mom who was just like, try again. You keep trying. Once I got in, it was no option that I had to stay in and graduate. I was like, I'm in. I'm doing this. I just got to show you people that I was made to do this. I know I was. And I almost flunked out of medical school for pride.
I think coming from a Caribbean background, pride is a dangerous thing for us.
Very.
Pride and not asking for help because we have to learn to do it on our own, and we want to be able to do it on our own because we want to have the bragging rights, but we don't want to ask for help because we don't know how it will be received when we ask for it.
That is correct. And then the possible rejection of not getting the help. Say, I've been vulnerable. I asked for the help and you're just not going to give it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just won't ask. I'll do everything myself. And that's not the way to live. It's not possible.
It's definitely not the way to live, but it's a learning curve for every single one of us in all of our relationships. No, be it personal, be it professional. It is a learning curve for all of us, and I'm glad you learned it quite early, especially your relationship with him.
Yes.
So can you share?
Can you learn to lean on him?
Listen, you always have to lean on him. Him, her, lean on him.
Yes. Yes.
What are some of the practices or routines you maintain to nurture your own well-being and continued growth?
That also took a long time, putting myself first and putting myself on the list. And I put myself on my list every day. And number one, you get up. I don't jump out of bed anymore. I don't set a loud alarm anymore. My alarm, it vibrates. And that's how I can get up. No music, no sound. It just vibrates. And that's like, oh, okay, time to wake up. And I take time to get out of bed. I plant my feet on the ground. Okay, I'm here. I'm steady. I say thank you. I show gratitude. I voice the gratitude. And then I get up and I pray. And if I'm still tired, I pray while I'm in bed. And then there's the prayer, and then there's the meditation. And now guess what? I stretch and move a little bit. I stretch and I move.
So you do.
And that's what I give to myself every day. Yes.
So you stretch and you move, and for me, I have to do at least. I used to do an hour and a half walk every single day, but my schedule, I wish I could, but my schedule doesn't allow it anymore. So I have committed to at least a 30-minute walk, and I used to do it to music. So now I just do it to nothing, just quiet, and that's what I do.
But quiet is so rich.
It's underrated.
I love it. Yes, quiet is so rich. My favorite time, believe it or not, is 4 a.m. because everyone is still sleeping. The house is quiet. And if it's nippy, it's just the cats and I, and we're snuggling, and I get the quiet time and I can think. And I think that's when we can hear God's voice the loudest. And that's also when creativity comes. Creativity comes in those quiet moments. As a physician, when I'm seeing patients all day and I'm spinning my wheels, creativity is out the door. There's no time to sit there and think. And those quiet moments are wonderful. Walking that 30 minutes outside and getting the fresh air and hearing the birds tweet, running into a bunny. I mean, those are beautiful things. And I actually I went back to the Pilates center and I started to do that. And everybody didn't have to do Pilates. I remember when somebody said, that is the hardest thing. Why would you start there? I said, because I need some good stretching and I need these muscles to feel like they're alive again. And when people say, well, how's Pilates? I say it's 50 minutes of torture that makes you feel the best afterwards. You feel relaxed. You feel like you're floating. And it's because we breathe throughout every movement and every motion. And even if something, you feel that muscle and it's a stretch you never would have done on your own, but you're breathing through it. And I think that's what we need to do in life, is just breathe through it, breathe through those moments. Sometimes I'm at work, I close my door, I do some deep breathing, and I open the door again, and that was a moment for myself. I give every single day to family, to patients, to a company, and you give and give, and there have to be moments when you say, this breath is for me. It is for me. And that is what I do for myself. We try to make self-care seem so big and so fancy and like we have to do something grand, but it doesn't have to be that way. It's simple as taking a deep breath, taking a walk, putting your earbuds in and listening to a good motivating YouTube video or something. It is simple and it's free.
And that is it in a nutshell. So, 2 final questions for you, Doc. What does being a rebel mean to you personally? And the other one, if there's one message you want every woman listening to take away from our conversation today, what would it be? Oh, anybody listening to us today, what would it be?
Okay, so my nickname in med school was Rebel. So it's so funny. I think I was born a rebel. My mom was a rebel. And I used to say to her, I remember one time I said, Mommy, you're so passive. I just don't understand why you're passive. She said, oh, you think I'm passive? And she said, so-called passive women like me get things done. She said, I'm not going to argue with someone. I'm going to let you say what you say, think what you're going to think, and I go out and I do what I'm going to do anyway, and I win. She said, you waste time arguing with people. And I learned from there that my mom was bad, okay?
Yes.
She was not passive. And she got what she wanted. And so being to me, being a rebel is doing what you're gonna do anyway. Listen to the voice of reason when those and sometimes the voice of reason is awesome, but it's not in line with God has for you. So I know that God talks to me directly, and he put the dream in my heart, and he put the thought in my head. So I will never allow you to come in and thwart that or change that. I will listen to your advice. I will heed wisdom, but I'm going to do what I'm going to do and God told me to do, because that's who I answer to in the end. And he has the keys to the kingdom, and he knows what I can and can't do. And what I want to do may sound impossible to you, but he told me that I can do whatever I want to do as long as it's in line with him and his plan for me. So being a rebel to me is not staying for everyone's limitations and not adopting their limitations, because they will tell you what you can and can't do based on their limitations of themselves. I was told that I couldn't get into med school. I was told that once I got into med school, I was told I would never match dermatology. And that was I remember the dean. She told me I was never going to match dermatology because her number 1, 2, and 3 did not match dermatology that year. That means the top 3 of the class didn't match dermatology. So who was I to think that I would not match that I would match dermatology? And I did. I matched dermatology. And when that position was going through changes and I needed something better and somewhere more stable to go, guess what? I got a second spot in dermatology. And when I got dermatology, people were trying to tell me that getting a cosmetic surgery fellowship is those positions are few and far between. And how are you going to get that? Those cosmetic surgery fellowship positions are just so competitive. I was like, well, it's what I want. I'm going to work for it and I'm going to get it. I didn't tell them that, but being a rebel is, it's like Paulo Coelho says, the warrior of being a warrior of the light. Mm-hmm. A warrior of the light does not announce when they're going to strike. They just strike.
They just strike.
A warrior, exactly, just strike. A warrior of the light does not tell you their plan. They just do it. It's like, okay, yeah, that's what you think of me, and that's what okay, that's nice. Those are the stats. That's awesome. But you know that you have it within you to do it, and you just carry through, and you don't have to announce it, and you don't have to tell everyone. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. And I also remember Oprah saying that if someone's opinion of you is none of your business. And so as a rebel, I carry that with me all the time. And by the way, I did get the cosmetic surgery fellowship. It's with somebody who's extremely well known, not even in this country, but worldwide.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She's been a mentor to me. She has opened doors for me. We still keep in touch. Even before I was going to start my practice, she said, no, come visit me and come stay with me so you can see my practice before you open yours. And that is such a blessing that I never would have thought of. And I never would have imagined. But that's what happens when you don't adopt other people's limitations. And you just got to be a rebel about it. You got to do it. But you can't go off saying, I'm a rebel. I mean, they told me I was. I knew I was. And that's what they called me. And it started with one of my classmates. He wouldn't even call me by my name. He'd be like, Rebel. And I knew what my name was. When he'd say rebel, I knew he was talking to me.
For me, what I've always appreciated about being called a rebel or just being a rebel for anything is because there's a mission, there's a cause, there's a purpose. You're always in purpose, on purpose, and you're for a purpose. It's been termed a derogatory term, but I think that's because they want it to be. Anybody who's different, anybody who is not like-minded to them, you're considered a rebel. So I think cheers to all the rebels out there.
Cheers to all the rebels out there, living out loud and living quietly, the silent rebels as well. There's something to say about the silent rebels.
Listen, I think the silent ones are the most dangerous, if that's such a word that can be used. Yes, because I always say to some of my friends, I have some friends, and they're like, but I'm not a rebel. And I said, yes, you are. You happen to be the quiet ones. They're the quiet ones. There are those that speak out loud. There are those that live out loud. They're just that just live for themselves and for their purpose, and that's enough.
Yes, and you know what? Touching on that, you're reminding me of something. I remember I went to a coaching session, and this person, she's a graphologist. She studies people's handwritings to learn more about themselves. It gives introspection, what position is going to work for them, et cetera, et cetera. So I did that, and when my report came back, it was very eye-opening, but and it was spot on point. But there was one thing it said, confidence, 95%. I said, there's something wrong here. She said, what? And at that time, believe it or not, this was finishing residency. I said, this says that I have 95% confidence. I said, that's not true. I said, I struggle with confidence. And she said, how could you possibly have gotten as far as you have gotten by struggling with confidence? I said, but I do. She said, no, honey. You are innately confident. She said, you've allowed vampires to prey on you and make you doubt yourself.
Mm-hmm. And you needed to hear that. And that's the thing.
You needed to hear that.
You needed to hear that. Because we define confidence, and we define a lot of ourselves by what other people's assumptions are of who we are.
Yes.
When innately we know exactly who we are.
Exactly. And so it's like you said, it's silent. but it's there. And when you told her that she was a rebel and she didn't know, it's because I feel like somewhere, somehow, somebody told her something, and that was hidden from her, or it made her doubt herself, and that happens a lot. And that's where that what you just said resonated with me when that graphologist told me that.
Yeah,
There's
so many different kinds of rebels, and I think having daughters and raising young girls, we have to. They're a little bit different than we are growing up because of the society that they're currently in. But I think it's very important that we continue to empower them and uplift them and let them know they too have a voice. They too have a voice. We would like them to use it for good, but they too have a voice.
Exactly, and it's an important voice, and they should live out loud enough for themselves, but use their voice. And whether that voice is in art, in music, in poetry, out loud, written, use your voice. Yeah. And I think that's what's most powerful, because not everybody is so verbose or outspoken, but that voice can be used in so many different ways. And I think that the true rebel unleashes when people are allowed to use their voice in whatever medium makes them free and comfortable and able to open.
Definitely agree. So, Doc, so tell our people, our listeners actually, where they can find you.
So you can find me on dermhairdoc.com is where you'll find my information about purely natural, luxurious. I say we're naturally luxurious hair care line. No harmful products, no parabens, no chemicals, no silicones, nothing that could hurt anyone. And then on Instagram, I'm at Derm Hair Doc. And also on YouTube, I have a YouTube Derm Hair Doc channel. Yes, and please, I want you to go there and get some information, because it's not just about hair and scalp care, but it's with a feel-good twist, letting you know no matter where you are in your hair journey, there's hope. Get help. And then also, go in, like us, subscribe, share, because that came out of my own hair journey, my own struggle with hair loss at a certain point in life. But not only that, but being inundated with hair loss patients all the time. And for me, that was a calling. It wasn't just a profession, because there's something so emotional that comes with that. I couldn't just give a woman a tissue and say, okay, next patient. I had to take the time. And so that's where that comes from. And everything I do it with all my heart. And when I learned that hair care products contain estrogen disruptors and hormone disruptors, that was very upsetting to me, because someone who survived breast cancer or any other condition does not need extra hormones. And also causing, early breast development and puberty in young girls. I was upset, and I took that anger and I challenged it into making a difference. So that's how folks can find me. And I just want to say to anyone who's listening to this and who has an obstacle that they're facing, or a challenge, or someone knows someone who is, you did not reach this podcast, you did not reach Seidel, and you did not reach me by accident. There's a reason that you landed on this podcast. And I want to say, do what you need to do personally to grow yourself and to stay encouraged and to keep your light. Don't let anyone smother your light. I know you'll say easier said than done, but you can keep your light on and not let anyone smolder it. And I think that's what I have to say today.
In a nutshell. In a nutshell. Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much, listeners, for tuning in to us. And until next week, have a rebel kind of a week and join the revolution.
That's right. Thanks, Miss Seidel. You take care, honey, and congratulations.
Thank you, Doc.